The Bhagavad Gita by Swami Chidbhavananda. Introduction. The Scripture Universal. Certain criteria contribute to making a book universal in its character. The language in which it happens to be coached is not in itself of great consequence. The Bhagavad Gita has come into being in Sanskrit, a sacred medium no doubt. But this book does not derive its sanctity and importance from this fact. Neither does the fact of its translation into a number of languages add to its merit. With modern facilities, it is easily possible for a book to run into an enormous number of impressions in the press and find a ready market worldwide. On these grounds, men of wisdom do not attribute universalism to a book. The fact that thousands, or even millions, pore over the pages of a particular book day after day does not necessarily establish a claim to universalism for that book. The sanctity of a book does not depend upon a census of its readers. The most extensively read printed matter is the newspaper. Almost every other man reads it, but it becomes a back number then and there. In contrast to this, literature on the path to perfection is studied by hardly a few at a time. What is more, this sacred study is put into practice by fewer still, while those who attain perfection as a result of such study and practice are very rare indeed. On this ground of fewness and rarity in search of perfection should not be dismissed as something of no import. Its value is at par at all times and with all people. The inviolable law that governs life is that all have to attain perfection at one time or another. That book alone is of universal value, which reveals this path to perfection. There are sufficient grounds to grant universalism to the Bhagavad Gita. In unmistakable terms, it upholds perfection as the goal of life. Books that point the way to perfection stand on a pedestal of their own. Self-perfection is the acme of human aspirations. Sooner or later, all have to pay homage to it and attain it. The Gita is a clarion call to this goal. Self-perfection is the goal in life, and yoga is the means to it. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga get their due place in the Bhagavad Gita. A bird requires 2 wings and a tail for its flight. The soul is endowed with bhakti and jnana to serve as 2 wings. Karma yoga serves as the tail that maintains the balance. All spiritual practices are part and parcel of these 3 yogas. Scriptures pertaining to religions are innumerable, but they are seldom all-inclusive in enunciating the laws governing life. While giving all attention to life hereafter, there are books that ignore our earthly existence altogether. Yet, other books aim to pin all our attention to life in this mundane world only. They assume indifference, if not antipathy, to existence that transcends the senses and the intellect. But the Bhagavad Gita is perfectly balanced in its outlook. It encourages the aspirant to make the best of the mundane world and prepare himself to draw inspiration from what is beyond. The Gita further contends that proper attunement with the mundane leads to yoga, or union with the supramundane. The reverse of it equally holds good. In other words, a spiritual man alone is best equipped for worldly life. It is customary with people to divide human activities into 2 distinctive types, the spiritual and the temporal, the sacred and the mundane. But the Bhagavad Gita makes no such artificial distinction. Life pertaining to this world is in no way different from the spiritual. There is continuity and uniformity in life in all its stages. Man will be in the hereafter none other than what he is here and now. Change of body affects no more change in the personality than the change of clothing. The mode of action is what makes a person what he is. But action by itself is neither sacred nor mundane. The attitude with which it is performed brings about a magical change in it. All actions become sacred in the hands of a spiritual man. On the contrary, a man with a material outlook drags down even a sacred act to the vulgar plane. Because of his earthbound outlook, the uninitiated one fouls sacred acts into mundane, whereas the message of the Gita is to metamorphose all actions into liberating sacred ones. This distinctive feature makes the Gita a book of universal application. Will, emotion, and cognition are the three aspects of the phenomenon of the mind. Nothing exists in the psyche beyond the realm of these three functions. A healthy and wholesome mind has a universal value. Nothing on earth or in heaven can compare with a fully evolved mind. He owns everything who owns a fully developed mind. Harmonious development of the will, emotion, and cognition go to constitute a perfect mind. The slightest inequality among these three functions will, to that extent, result in imperfection in the formation of character. The Bhagavad Gita emphasizes this all-important factor. In order to stress the equal importance of the three phases of the mind, the 18 chapters in the Gita get themselves equally divided and are devoted to the development of the will, emotion, and cognition. Because of its masterly exposition of this all-absorbing issue of human life, the Bhagavad Gita may be assigned the unique status of the scripture universal. The plan and purpose of the Gita are to evolve out of man a personality that is perfect from all points of view. A strong body and a mature mind form the material of which such a personality is built. Efficiency to the core is the criterion of a powerful personality. It is efficiency that makes character. To do good and to make others do good is possible only to the powerful in body and mind. The next great factor in the formation of personality is love. All living beings are endowed with love, though the degree of it may vary. And this love can be purified as well as intensified. From pure love emanates sweetness in all its excellence. It has the power to bind all beings in benevolent unity. The third and final factor is intellect. It may be equated with the broad blazing sun, which reveals everything in its true light. But for the intellect, the higher qualities of things remain unrecognized. It is the intellect, again, that guides beings to the right action. To a person endowed with an efficient hand, a loving heart, and a clear head, nothing more remains to be added. He becomes a complete personality, verging on divinity. Perfection marks him for its own. A harmonious development of the hand, the heart, and the head is patent in such a personality. The Gita is the perfect guide for those who aspire to build a perfect personality. Every student of the Gita is a potential Arjuna. May he receive light in his own way, from the scripture universal. Very few understand that the aim of human life is to see God. An Indian Hindu monk, philosopher, and author Swami Vivekananda said, "Those who work without any consciousness of their lower ego are not affected by evil, for they work for the good of the world. To work without motive, to work unattached, brings the highest bliss and freedom." This secret of karma yoga is taught by the Lord Sri Krishna in the Gita. For more information, please visit executiveserenity.com. Thank you.